Director's Letter 007 is finally here. So we're jumping right into it. Now, it goes to say with the preface, it says, hello, everyone. This is Tribe 9's director, Sojima. Now, with this, it says, first, I'd like to thank everyone for your patience while waiting for this update. Today, I'm excited to introduce some of the changes coming in the major update version 1.1.0, as well as a roadmap for future plans. Whoa, chill out. We didn't ask for that, but hey, no, I'm lying. We did ask for that, but we definitely did ask for that, but I didn't think I was going to have it ready already. All right, so here we go. So it says about version 1.1.0 update. So it says chapter 3, Dead History Comes for Vengeance. Now, what's really cool is it already kind of is like showing us, and this is one thing I really like with how they present their updates. They kind of give us a little bit of an insider as far as like how the setting is going to look, whether it's when the characters are talking, the background. These are all like really important details, and that's one thing I'm really appreciating with Tribe 9 is they're very attentive to detail, right? Now it says a new main story will be added. The city that the Trash Tribe will visit this time is the Neo Chiyoda city, and as the name Neo suggests, it is not the same Chiyoda city from the anime, but rather a region slightly removed from the central area of the former Chiyoda city that serves as the anime setting. In contrast to Chiyoda city's solemn atmosphere, you'll discover a unique world steeped in subculture. And this is actually why, again, I think it's so important you guys go and watch the anime. It's super quick to watch it. We watched it in literally like 2 weekends. It probably took us in total, it was like really like 10 hours. But again, it still was super, super quick. One sitting, you can binge watch the whole thing. It is great for just understanding the background of everything. And then you kind of can get into Tribe 9 a little bit more, I feel like. Now the new numbers, Zenichi Magata. Okay, so I'm kind of interested in this dude because number one, he's barefoot, and usually barefoot characters are kind of crazy. But there's a couple of different details that I always look at when it comes down to certain characters. It may be like some things that might be kind of descriptive to them. So obviously he has this like a skeleton on his chest tattooed, which is already kind of one thing, kind of have like symbolism in this skull belt. But the other thing is too, is that he has the word truth tattooed on his foot. That's like a really interesting thing to have tattooed on your foot. Now, I can't remember what exactly it was. I know somebody was saying it in the comments on the preview that they actually teased this number in. But his arm also has something tattooed really important on it. If you guys know what it is, definitely comment it down below because I can't remember what it was. And this is just way too far out, like zoomed out for me to be able to see it. But he's definitely giving like mad scientist vibes, even down to the stitching on his face, kind of like experimental, kind of Frankenstein-y type of vibe. But who really knows with Tribe 9? This dude could be, I don't even know. He might be regular. Highly doubt it, but hey, I wouldn't be surprised. But it says in Neo Chiyoda city, as new numbers, Zenichi Magata will appear before Yo and the others. Unlike the numbers they've encountered so far, Magata seems to be an opponent who strongly desires communication. So, okay, that's a little interesting. We hope you pay close attention to this new way of interacting with numbers and witness Trash Tribe's struggle as they navigate the unique XG of the Neo Chiyoda city. Now, one of the things that's really interesting and what I feel like really has been making this game pretty fun for at least the story component, every story has something or every city has something different, right? Like you had like the whole business hierarchy with like the presidents in the first chapter. The chapter after that was like the fame. So you kind of have like these different settings in these different games basically, or gimmicks or hierarchies that exist. So I'm really interested. Like what do you guys think communication could be though? Like what would that like maybe possibly entail? Because I think that they've come up with some pretty witty ideas for that thing that's getting people basically killed. Because remember, if you drop zero fame in the last city, that you just died, or if you were chosen basically to be offed. I think was that the president or the executioner? I can't remember exactly, but I know that basically was like one person basically had to die a day. So like it was like every city has some sort of death stipulation. So I'm like, what exactly is the communication death stipulation, right? Or what is it like, kind of surrounding? Now from there it says that also the mysterious Q, who seems to have a significant connection to the Neo Chiyoda city, will be an important character in this chapter, which is really good to know. And it says the events in chapter 3 are particularly connected to those in the anime, so we highly recommend taking this opportunity to watch the Tribe 9 anime's limited time release, as it may also, or it may allow you to enjoy the story even more deeply. So yeah, definitely watch it on the official Tribe 9 YouTube channel. They did put it up there for free, so if you don't have like a Crunchyroll or anything like that, you're not able to pay for a subscription, you can still enjoy it for free. Maybe have to suffer with a little bit of English dub, but nonetheless, it's still pretty good in my opinion. Now, with that, you have about the difficulty level, which is pretty huge. So it says, as a heads up, the enemy levels in Neo Chiyoda City will be higher than the previous areas. You may find battles challenging if you just completed chapter 2. So we recommend thoroughly upgrading your characters and cards before proceeding. Starting with chapter 3, we've reduced the number of full mark gates that restrict story progression. Additionally, we've adjusted chapter 1 and chapter 2 to require fewer marked stickers, making it easy to enjoy the story. That's actually a pretty good thing, because I think like we definitely did. And I think that's why I also set like the tone of like, this is how we have to farm, because there was such a huge emphasis on trying to get those markers because it had extra currency behind them. It just seemed like, okay, all we have to do is just explore, keep doing it, and we'll eventually get whatever we're going to get. Now, from here, it goes to say, on the other hand, routes that are considered shortcuts in Chapter 3 will have gates that require a high number of full mark stickers. These routes will also feature high-level enemies with challenging battles, okay? We encourage you to unlock the new level cap. Ooh, new level cap, okay. Okay, so we got a new level cap, so that means we're going to 60? Wait, new level cap. Unlock the new level cap, so we're going to 60 now. Strengthen your characters and explore Neo Chiyoda City after completing the main story. Okay, so with that, furthermore, in Neo Chiyoda City, in addition to bosses and story, new Patimon and Patimon substats will be added. Okay, now, I don't know who could read Japanese, but can somebody tell me what that says? Because I can't read Japanese. I can read Chinese. I can't read Japanese. so yeah, that is obviously some new stat. It looks like a maybe health stat, because it definitely has the heart next to it, but I don't know what exactly that is. So I'm kind of intrigued to seeing what exactly that could be. Okay. And it says the new PAR system, which we will detail later in this letter, is designed to ensure your carefully selected Patimon remain valuable over time. We hope you'll enjoy experimenting with new combinations, which is really cool. Now we have a new playable character. I think it's Hinagiku Akiba. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so Hinagiku Akiba. All right, so that looks like what we currently have going on. We're gonna actually watch this real quick, so give me 1 second. Okay, so let's see what exactly she can do. It says Hina's cute and strong. She looks sick, yo. Oh my god. Wow. So primary attack. Okay, that was cute. Super punch. Okay. So she has a primary charge, which is interesting. Nice. All right, so it consumes stamina to charge, and when being attacked in a state, it will perform a deflect. Wow, that's busted. Ooh. From any angle? Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, was that from every angle? It says after successfully performing a deflect during a charged primary attack, you can perform the same attack as when fully charged and gain a certain amount of fist ki. Ooh, so you get okay, so it's okay, got it. So you get the deflect into a charge follow-up. That's insane. Okay. Yeah, that's nuts. And then she has a strong attack, gain stacks even without hitting the target. Wow. Ooh. Her counterattack is pretty interesting. Yeah, this seems like a pretty, like, close quarters, aggressive character. So that's her ability that, oh, it makes enemies lose balance. Nice. Wow, that's insane. Dude. Okay, so she basically, so this, like, it strikes a charming pose, grant all enemies attention. So remember, attention makes it to where the targets have no choice but to basically aggro. It's like a defense or tank, like aggro or taunt. But she also has the opportunity of decreasing defense point at the same time. That's kind of nuts. So they definitely like went kind of crazy with her. I think this whole giant arm, like, she's cool. I'm not gonna lie. She's a really cool. And what's really cool too is that even earlier in her showcase here, they actually showed the other guy. I don't know if he's like what his name is specifically. Hold on, let me see if it's right here. Right? They show him right here. So this is already telling us, like, and I'm at least speculating. I'm not going to say officially, but obviously this might be a playable character, right? Because he's in combat with her. It would be kind of interesting to not see him playable, but he is one of the newer characters. So I expect or suspect him to be playable. So this is actually really cool. Okay. I'm not going to lie. She looks good. She looks really fun, I will say. So let me know if you guys are going for just off the looks. Of course, she has to more than likely, you know, fit into whatever comp. But I mean, considering that we've had so much time to save and kind of stack up resources, I feel like a lot of people are still going to actually pull for this unit. I'm just really interested though, what exactly is the tension card she has? Because that's really going to be a big determinant factor as far as if she's actually really OP paired up with her tension card. Now, I'm assuming if it's anything like how they did Kazuki's, then we might be seeing a pretty decent tension card for her. But there might already actually be a tension card in the game that might actually work really well with her as well. So it's just kind of in the air. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. All right, so back to the director's letter, all right? Now we are all hyped up. It goes to say, an end fighter who overwhelms enemies with her powerful primary attack and unique deflect mechanics. It says Hinagiku's most distinctive feature is her charge attack, which can be unleashed by press and holding her primary attack. This action also has an integrated offense-defense capability. If Hinagiku takes an enemy hit while charging her attack, she basically has a deflect counterattack will activate. While this ability may seem overpowered, we want to note that the deflect frames during a charge attack occur shortly after she begins charging. Oh, okay, so it's not just you hold and then she just gets an auto deflect. Like, it's like a second where that deflect frame happens, and if the hit isn't happening exactly at that moment, then she probably can still get hit. Which means if you want to be aggressive, you need to use regular deflects effectively instead. Yeah. So Hinagiku is a character that makes deflects easy to perform, even for players less comfortable with timing counterattacks. However, mastering her unique deflect abilities unlocks her potential for massive damage output, making her versatile across different play styles. So that's kind of nice. I will say, like, out of the banner units, do I feel like they're all easier to use? Yeah, I don't feel like there's anyone that's like astronomically hard. Maybe Simba is probably the harder out of the the banner units that we've gotten so far. I feel like she is, even over, I feel like she is the harder one. Like, there's just a lot more that kind of goes into like the movement of her zone and stuff like that. And some players I noticed, especially when they first start out, just have a really difficult time with that. yeah, Kazuki was just really simple. Like I felt like he just kind of came into the game and you kind of just did like his 2 moves. But outside of that, Hinagiku's ultimate skill consumes tension by 100 and inflicts attention on all enemies. This effect allows Hinagiku to serve as a tank, protecting party members similar to Saigo and Q. This update will also introduce many additions that expand the synergy of Hegemony tension cards. So we hope you will enjoy experimenting with different builds. So I really, really like this. Now, Rift updates. Yes, sir. What are we getting? We are getting, let's see, we have received extensive feedback about difficulty of enjoying Rifts and will be implementing significant improvements in response. Starting with this update, new difficulty levels will be added to bosses and Rifts. So beyond these new difficulties, a bonus called highest difficulty bonus will be added, allowing you to earn additional Kane and T points. That's really nice. Now, let me see if they show anything. No, it doesn't look like it's anything in that picture, but it doesn't mention it. So it says, furthermore, similar to the Lux Phantasma's repeatable stages, a function will be added that allows a player to consume up to 3 boosters at once and double the number of reward draws you receive based on the number of boosters consumed. This is really, really good for anyone that's on a time crunch, even for those that aren't, but have other games that they want to play. This is really, really good. So changes to the PAR system. So we'll be changing the specifications for PAR to particularly remove the tier restrictions so that substats will be inherited if the tier is higher than the Patimon selected at the time of use. See, that's one of the things that happens is like when you select a stat, it gets locked into the tier. And everyone was mad at me when I initially made that video, but it actually was showcasing something that's kind of cooked. And the thing is that like it literally will lock you into it. So if you were only going for, say, even if you were using a tier 8, and you were using a piece that had a specific substat on it because you wanted that substat, but it had other lower values, it would lock that into only rolling that as the highest potential. Now, it says, we understand that this change may be met with mixed reactions due to the increased frequency of Kane consumption associated with using PAR, which I think is true. However, we're making this change to maintain players' motivation to strategize with overworld Patimons, ensuring they receive similar attention to those obtained from Fractal Vice. So I think my whole thing with that is that, like, yeah, we need some sort of, we need something, I guess, and hopefully the Kane from the rifts maybe like kind of help filter that. But I really feel like for all of those like that really invested, because there are a lot of us that like continuously were farming Fractal Vice, all of that stuff, making sure that you're basically giving some sort of resource to kind of like make up for that, because that is like a change. Like people have gone and farmed certain things, and I will say this, right? The only real reason why I don't think I'm as upset or really like even bothered is because the fact that really in reality, yes, the PAR costs something, but leveling Patimon isn't a thing, right? And like a lot of other games where like you can have the, you know, possibility of plus 15ing and doing all that jazz, that's one element that I think is kind of a saving grace for me personally, just because that ends up being the big investment dump. It's not that you necessarily got the piece, but it's the fact that you had to invest in it for it to then be trash, versus these are just rolling that way. So I guess there is the farm time, but I guess it is expected that if you were doing Fractal Vice, they did put out there like, hey, we don't intend for this to be a mode that's like really farmed, but hey, what else were we supposed to do, right? So I guess there's just that. So let me know how you guys feel about that personally. Now, it goes to say also, as mentioned earlier, we will continue to review and balance resource acquisition by increasing both sources and the amounts of Kane, which should help reduce the stress in the future. So we'll have to wait and see what else they do with that. Now, Patimon filtering feature. So a filtering feature for Patimons will finally be added, which was one of the biggest acts that a lot of players are asking for because we ain't have one. So thank you for your patience while we worked on getting this feature implemented. We plan on adding an automatic compression function in the future or in a future update. Okay. Oh, okay. That's actually not a bad thing. And then I just want to see what the filter, y'all didn't give us a screenshot. Y'all should have given us a screenshot. I wanted to see what it looked like, but we'll just have to wait and see on the update. Now it says a limited time shop. So as a brief side note, unrelated to game content, we'll be adding a limited time shop that uses paid Enigma entities in version 1.1.0. Skins that were previously only obtained from Wonder Boxes will now be featured periodically in the shop for direct purchase. Keep an eye out. Your favorite character skin might be featured soon. Additionally, we're planning to sell several items to help help those who cannot spend much time playing the game to progress efficiently. So, all right, guys. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what this is. All right, are you guys listening? Are you ready? So you know how we had, and I feel like no one listens to me when I say these things, but I've been doing content creation and specifically mobile gaming content creation for 8 years, right? And anytime a company does anything relative to giving us currency back, rebates, refunds, whatever you want to call it, that just happened when we first started the game where we got all of our currency back, including paid Enigma, right? This is a way for them to be able to earn some of that currency back, right? They're trying to find other alternatives to basically make money, which I think is fair for this game because they're not really, I don't want to say at this point they're not really selling the gacha. I think the gacha is a thing, but I really will say that for the most part, they're not like trying to implement new characters. And that's one thing I guess we can say we can appreciate is they're not just trying to implement new characters that basically is the same character that already exists in the game, but does what they do a little bit better. So it kind of power creeps them. What we're getting is completely different mechanics. And then from there, you can kind of decide out of the two which you prefer, which I kind of like more, right? Like you kind of get to build things that you like and mechanics and gimmicks that you feel more comfortable with versus mechanics that are like obviously the same, but this one just does it so much more like easily. So then now you have to go and pick that unit because why would you want to play harder if you don't have to, right? Like that's just usually the mentality. So this is a way for them to be able to get some of that currency back. I think this is a smart way of doing it because the only thing is it just kind of, I guess, depends on what exactly the items are. But I'm going to be honest, I'm a pretty huge advocate for a game that's not selling anything really. Like the main things they're selling to us are Battle Pass. We have just the Enigma packs for the most part. And then we have the now it's going to be this limited time shop. So there's not really much being sold at all. And I think spenders do need things. That's how you keep these games going. I want to see Tribe 9 for a really, really long time. So anything that they're basically going to be able to implement that's going to pull resources. Obviously, like I said, they got to make some money back because a lot of people are under the impression they didn't lose anything. No, you definitely lose stuff. And now they had to change and make adjustments to the monetization structure to some degree because the gacha changed. So they have to find other ways for people to find things or have things to spend for. And what better thing to have people spending for? Skins, right? So you could still obtain some of these things from Wonder Boxes, but it looks like now they'll have a shop that lets you directly purchase them. So this, again, I think is a great way to kind of meet free to play at a certain point, but also still allowing those that are spending that's like, hey, I want to give you my money. Let me get something I really like. People love skins, right? So I think that that's actually a really, really great addition to the game. Now, it goes for the version 1.1.1 update details. Now, it says, as mentioned earlier, the current Fractal Vice has several issues that we plan to address through a major overhaul in version 1.1.0. Due to the extensive nature of these changes, we'll introduce them gradually. So this is pretty cool. We're getting this roadmap. Now it says, as mentioned earlier, the current Fractal Vice has several issues that we plan to address through a major overhaul after version 1.1.0. And due to, oh wow, I'm rereading the same thing. Sorry, y'all. It says the new Fractal Vice Hingomoni is scheduled to launch on April 24th. So 1 week after the Chapter 3 update, we encourage you to first enjoy Neo Chiyoda City and the Chapter 3 story in version 1.1.0 before preparing to tackle the upcoming Fractal Vice. Furthermore, we are planning an update aimed at improving Fractal Vice to coincide with the timing of support contract switches in the future. Okay. Now it says in this update, we plan to implement character balance adjustments that we will discuss later in this letter. We aim to maintain a balanced game environment long term, enabling players to enjoy many kinds of team compositions. So separating the Limit series from Fractal Vice. Ooh, what does this mean? So first off, battles with the Red Limit series can only be challenged in a special space that can be accessed after clearing the deepest part of the Fractal Vice, not within Fractal Vice itself. So once you reach it, actually, you know what? That is true. Like it's not, it's just like literally just the top floor. Like that's literally it. So once you reach the space related to the target boss, you can move directly to that space without going through Fractal Vice from then on. Ooh, okay. I like that. I like that. So now you can move directly to that space without going through Fractal Vice from there. That's huge. So for example, after you clear the deepest floor of Fractal Vice and unlock Backgammon's room once, you can always travel directly to Backgammon's room going forward. Wow, that's insane. That actually is going to save so much time. And it says if the active Red Limit series boss changes to Solitaire, you'll need to clear Fractal Vice depths again to unlock access to Solitaire's room. However, if the boss later switches back to Backgammon, you can immediately challenge Backgammon directly when Fractal Vice resets. Wow. That's a big change. Now it says as the battles with the Red Limit series have been separated from Fractal Vice, you can now rematch them at any time. There you go, guys. GG, you won. we won, right? Like, I mean, shoot, I didn't mind doing it, but hey, now I don't mind doing it even more, right? Like, that's all that really is. Now it says new map feature added. So it says we've added an overall map screen where you can see the entire Fractal Vice. Wow, that's huge. You can now check routes and the number of treasure chests you've obtained. Listen, I want to give a quick shout out to those of you guys in the Discord, specifically, like I think it was like Cat and Doggo, for putting together maps while we did not have the opportunity to see the rotations. There were literally individuals in the community that were putting together entire pathways for people to be able to follow every single week so that they basically could have an easier time. Shout out to those of you guys. Because I don't want that work to go unnoticed, but I think it is really nice that they've gone and added it to, the game. But again, I do want to give that recognition to those that, like, again, that went out of their way. All of those that, like, that have Giselle, all of you guys in the community that really went out of your way to try to add more value to the community. I gotta say I appreciate you guys, because a lot of these changes I don't think would be implemented if there weren't people that were pushing for these, one. But then also, two, it would have actually probably had a lot of people disinterested without having additional help like that. So shout out to you guys, man. Now, they go to also say, too, changes to unlocking gates. So it says within a given week's run of Fractal Vice, once you defeat a so-called gatekeeper enemy, the corresponding gate remains open for the rest of the week. On floors you've already cleared once, that makes it possible to employ playstyles like quickly defeating enemies efficiently and groups. Okay, so then they go to revise structure and difficulty. Ooh, okay, I kind of like that with all the rewards being in a better place. So it says in Hegemony, we're revising the overall difficulty. Enemies will become significantly stronger as you venture into deeper layers. We're also removing all rifts for returning within the floors. To return, you'll need to clear the boss floor that matches your current difficulty level. And you can access the boss floor from B1 through 4, where you'll face a boss appropriate to your difficulty level. Okay, cool. Instead of Red Limit series bosses, you'll encounter ferocious enemies and familiar foes like Brave Diver and Shark from your previous adventures. Some of the bosses may exceed the levels typically available in normal play, ensuring challenging battles even with familiar opponents. Now, changes to scoring and rewards. Clearing a boss floor causes two types of chests to appear. Luxurious chests with the quantity determined by your score at the... Whoo! Look at this room. Dude, this is insane. That's insane. So it says it's determined by your score at that point, and one special chest, which can be obtained once per week. Okay, nice. Different from chests found normally on the floors, the score-based luxurious chest can be earned repeatedly on subsequent clears. Wow, that's huge. This change aims to prevent a situation where players could clear their original Fractal Vice without problems. Up to the deepest level might now be able to clear up to B2 in Hegemony, which could result in a decrease in the total number of Patimon obtained or require more time for Patimon selection than before. And in addition to this, we are implementing several improvements to make it easier to select Patimon and provide a greater sense of progression. That's huge. Now, we got some Red Limit series improvements. So it says, as mentioned briefly in the Fractal Vice section, the Red Limit series will be repositioned as a separate challenge content, detached from conquering Fractal Vice. Therefore, the special chest that allows you to raise your character's rank from EX1 Plus and beyond can now be obtained by clearing Fractal Vice without having to defeat the Red Limit series. So this is actually really good for all players. I mean, we're going to still have to see what the difficulty is of these other pieces of content, but because it's based off the scoring, I think the chest is still rewarded, but it just kind of determines all the other chests that you get. Now, it says, as mentioned in the previous director's letter, we positioned the Red Limit series purely as challenge content, and this change aims to further clarify that policy, which I think is it makes sense. Furthermore, for the Red Limit series and Hegemony and going forward, difficulty selection will be added similar to Rifts and boss farming. However, unlike the overworld, you will unlock higher difficulty levels by clearing the one before it, which makes sense. We prepared some exceptional, challenging optional bosses available to fight once you've cleared Chapter 3. Defeating them on their highest difficulty setting rewards players with a unique medal corresponding to each boss, which I think is, kind of a flex, right? And to put it another way, these bosses only drop their respective medals. There are no other unique items or progression benefits tied to them. So if you're focused on building your characters and following the story, you can absolutely skip these fights with no penalty, which I think is really, really important. So fatal attacks, okay? This was the worst one. Now, it says also starting with the Hegemony edition, including the existing Red Limit series, warning attacks will be replaced with a new attack called fatal attacks, okay? Now, it says if you're hit by this attack, you'll be inflicted with a perilous state, which increases the damage you take for a certain period. Perilous state is a stacking effect up to a maximum of 3 stacks, and at maximum stacks, the multiplier becomes so high that the next hit will definitely knock you out. Oh, okay, so they're just saying, yeah, you're gonna get one shot, buddy. And it says the duration of one stack is not very long. So if you're hit by a fatal attack, we recommend playing it safe and prioritizing recovery from the perilous state. For players who are already figured out the attack patterns of Backgammon and Solitaire, this change should not significantly impact the gameplay feel. Even with builds centered around characters like Saigo, who specialize in damage reduction, it is still possible to withstand attacks and win as before if you properly deal with the fatal attacks. Okay, fair. That's what all I was like kind of thinking about before. Is like, is this gonna nerf him? But if they're saying it's not, then we'll rock with it for now. So it says about game balance. Okay, so in version 1.0 environment, we designed a game assuming a player base level of 40, with level 50 being obtainable for only those who had defeated the Red Limit series. However, shortly after launch, we made several changes to the game, and these changes allowed many players to reach level 50. And removing the attention card consumption made players even more powerful. We now recognize that these adjustments have made enemies too weak to pose a meaningful challenge to players, increasing firepower. That is true. We're hitting like for millions of damage right now, so I mean that is fair. While we appreciate that this power progression reflects our players' dedication to strengthening their characters, it reveals a deeper issue. The current lack of gameplay depth means players don't feel sufficiently rewarded for character advancement, which is true. With that in mind, and based on our current development progress, we are continuously working on adjusting battles, starting with increasing the enemy difficulty in Chapter 3 and Fractal Vice. With that said, we also recognize that for those who prioritize enjoying the story, that this increase in difficulty may be causing more stress than intended. Therefore, we plan to distribute the difficulty across the game's 4 main pillars: story progression, post-story content, Fractal Vice as in-game content, and then the Red Limit series. In particular, we plan to adjust the difficulty of the story progression to make it smoother than the current experience. Furthermore, within Fractal Vice, we plan to establish clear difficulty differences between floors B1 and B4. And so, taking all of this into account, in the upcoming versions of 1.1.0, we will reduce the number of enemies in areas that are part of the main story progression. Okay, that's fair. And we'll also make adjustments in future updates so that the battle difficulty in Chapter 3 story progression is somewhat easier. In particular, regarding the Chapter 1 boss, Shark, while some players were satisfied with the challenge, we have confirmed that many others felt compelled to stop playing because of it. We hope to make it possible to enjoy the story comfortably as soon as possible. I'm not gonna lie, I personally felt it was okay, but I will get, and I say I can get behind the fact that these changes can cause discomfort, basically making it to where a player is not really feeling like they're just able to go seamlessly through the story. But I also will say I feel like there needs to be jumps in that, right? Like as you're making things stronger, as you go from chapter to chapter, your account's going to innately or inherently get stronger. So, I mean, I feel like there also needs to be stronger content. Like you shouldn't just be one-tapping the boss. Like you want there to be, especially like the bosses, right? I think that that's the big thing for me. I can get behind the enemies being like, weaker, but the boss fights need to feel like something. That's what always has made, if you're going for a more OG JRPG feel, the bosses need to be memorable. What creates memorable, like something, or what makes something memorable is by the challenge of it, right? It doesn't need to be impossible, but it needs to be challenging. And that's something that I really feel like I kind of will stick by and stand on that, is that I really feel like that's what makes something memorable. If you're going for this story and you're really trying to create an impact, gotta have portions of it at some point where players are like, wow, that fight was sweaty, but it was really fun, and I was finally able to get through it, and then you move on, right? I would definitely say you can also incorporate the things like the lowering difficulty thing, like after a certain amount of losses. That's something that you can easily have as part of that, versus anything else, really, is how I kind of see it. That's an easy way to kind of solve that problem. But for those that want to enjoy it at its higher difficulty, let them, right? And then from there, if those that are struggling have issues, you can give those parameters for them to be able to lower it. I feel like that's pretty simple, to be honest. But all right, so now it says looking ahead, our roadmap. So let me actually pull this up real quick. Okay, so we got the roadmap blown up a little bit here. So I'm gonna move a little bit this way. So what we got on the 17th that's going to be coming, that's actually when this all starts. Obviously 2025. We're going to be getting the Chapter 3 major update, which is the Neo Chida, and the new challenges added. Now let me actually move myself over here. All right, so we can see this part. All right, there we go. So new major update, new city, Neo Chida, and new challenges added. We also are getting the new character, new bosses, which they actually go to kind of tease and kind of show them there. And then we get the improvements, the 9-log, rift, par system, etc. right? So that also then is going to be followed up by, on April 24th, the Fractal Vice Renewal plus Hegemony Edition. So this is now putting us into that next season, which is going to be really, really good. And of course, we're going to have a much better par system. So I'm just saving all my resources right now. That's what I've been doing. So now with the next character or next portion here, we actually are going to have 2 new characters actually coming in May, and I guess May through June. So it's Ichino Suke, I think it is, Akiba, which, wait, are they all siblings? Wait a minute, are they siblings? Okay, so I guess they're siblings. And then we have Saizo Akiba that's also going to be coming in June, more than likely. If he's up here and he's a 3-star, it'll probably be 1 in May, 1 in June. And then, or it could be around just around that same time, who knows? But then they have a special battle content, a new side story coming, and then they'll have some more events that's also going to be coming as well. So it says expect more events in the near future, a game balance update, and then in July, we're going to be getting Chapter 4. So along with a new city, we'll add bosses, ferocious enemies, and new characters. Look forward to this major update. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to Achino Suke. He seems really, really good. I'm not gonna lie. He seems like he might be really, and I'm saying that just based off of looks. He could be trash. I don't know. But I would say between him and Hinagiku, they're definitely the 2 characters I'm looking the most forward to. But then again, I feel like Saizo might end up being a sleeper. He might have an insane kit or something crazy. So we'll see what exactly they're all bringing to the table when the time comes. But it is really, really cool that they gave us this roadmap. And keep in mind, guys, that these roadmaps are subject to change. So we could be seeing some changes in the future. But I just appreciate the fact that they've gone this length to draw some of this stuff up for us. Now, of course, with this, it goes to say, starting with Chapter 3 and onwards, we plan to add new chapters and cities in a 3-month cycle to Tribe 9. So every 3 months, we basically will be getting some sort of major update, which I think is for the new chapter. It says in April, the renewed Fractal Vice will appear once a week after the release of the version 1.1.0, and starting in May. A battle-focused event will be added. This event is designed to be slightly over the top, allowing even casual players experiment with different teams, combinations, and to see damage numbers beyond the usual range. It also provides challenging battles for hardcore Fractal Vice players, giving everyone the freedom to play at their preferred difficulty level. This battle event, like Lux Phantasma, is also scheduled to be held for a longer period. In addition to this, we plan to hold somewhat smaller events every 1 to 2 weeks. And then regarding the side stories, including the current Lux Phantasma, we have received a lot of positive feedback and are considering reorganizing the flow so that they can become permanent content in the future. Thank you. So this will be a rather large scale change, so it will take some time to implement. However, we are preparing to share some news by that time the next side story is released. So please stay tuned for further updates. Now, improvements to or improvements in the upcoming updates that's also coming. It says we are preparing updates that will improve the quality of life, or QOL, for our players, including functional enhancements. So among these, we have received a lot of feedback, particularly regarding Monado City, stating that the map structure and connecting are difficult to understand. In response, we are preparing an update that will renew the display on the radar and overall map. Yeah, that actually will be super helpful, doing it by like its corresponding levels. In addition to this, we are working on many other improvements, such as a feature that will make it easier to check synergy effects and buff/debuffs during battles, and we hope to announce these in this format in the future as well. Now, about the game balancing update, they left this right at the end. So following the new chapter's release, we'll implement regular balance updates, focusing primarily on character adjustments. These updates aim to strengthen underused characters, creating more diverse options for team compositions. Characters that were released at launch will particularly need ongoing balance updates to keep them viable, since they tend to become weaker as the game evolves. We've also received feedback that some characters' transcend effects feel underwhelming. So while we plan to strengthen these effects to make them more impactful, such adjustments require careful balancing, because we already are match strong. So that is true. So we ask for your patience as we work on these improvements. With that said, we plan to implement some of initial numerical adjustments to Q. Wait, who's that? It's a Hayachio Chitaro. Wait, did I miss this character? Who is that? And Manami Oe. Like, who is that? But in version 1.1.0. Dude, listen, I have no idea who that is. And maybe I'm tripping, but hey, it might just be me. Final thoughts. That'll be all for this director's letter. Since this game's launch on February 20, we initially received a lot of critical feedback. However, thanks to everyone's support, we were able to recover a very positive review on Steam, which is definitely a really big plus. So we've liked to extend our sincerest gratitude to everyone. Beyond that, what we've introduced today, we prepared several additional updates and improvements to enhance your adventures in Neo Tokyo. We hope to continue providing you with further updates in the future. So we appreciate your patience. In the upcoming version 1.1.0, we prepared a major update that will significantly change the environment with a new city, new characters, and new Patimons. A more dramatic development awaits Yo and the other story as well. So we hope you will pay close attention not only to the new numbers, but also to the actions of Q, who will be a key person in the upcoming story. Let's meet again in Neo Tokyo. So I gotta say, guys, this was definitely one of the best like director's letters that they put out so far. There's so many amazing changes that were a part of this. I will say, God, this is almost 40 minutes. It is 40 minutes of just pure information. So definitely, guys, I appreciate you guys that stuck all the way through to the end. This is all important stuff that we need to know, especially for those of us that are super into the game. Again, I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing in the near future. Let me know what you guys think, man. But that's gonna be that with this one, guys. I appreciate all of you guys. We're actually gonna probably might stream in like either today or tomorrow. So we'll just kind of be grinding up our accounts, just kind of getting through some stuff. And we can kind of talk about some of these things as well. So that's basically going to be that with this one, guys. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.